Every NFL team has now officially played their first game of the 2025 season, and as always, the hot takes came flying in the second the clock hit zero. That's the beauty of Week 1 in the NFL. You get 60 minutes of football and suddenly entire fan bases are either planning Super Bowl parades or demanding a complete rebuild. We see it every single year. The Lions are doomed without Ben Johnson. Caleb Williams is already a bust. The Ravens can't finish when it matters. You name it, Week 1 provides it. And that's the thing about overreactions. There's usually a sliver of truth buried in there somewhere, but it's still way too early to write any team's obituary or crown a champion after one game. Still, part of the fun is dissecting these narratives and seeing which ones might actually hold water. And that's exactly what we're doing in today's video, breaking down the biggest Week 1 overreactions and figuring out whether they're totally out of pocket or if there's something real behind them. Let's kick things off with one of the loudest overreactions of Week 1. The AFC is a two-team race. Now, the reason this blew up so quickly is because of what we witnessed on Sunday Night Football between the Baltimore Ravens and Buffalo Bills. That matchup was not only one of the best season openers we've seen in years, but it also ended in a historic scoreline, 41-40, the first score in NFL history to finish with that result. A true scorigamy. Both teams put up over 430 yards of offense, and for long stretches of the game, it felt like neither defense had an answer. DeAndre Hopkins' highlight reel touchdown made it 34-19, and in that moment, it honestly looked like Baltimore might run Buffalo out of the building. But give credit to Josh Allen and the Bills. They clawed their way back, capitalizing on a Derrick Henry fumble and forcing the Ravens into mistakes before Matt Prater sealed it with a walk-off field goal. And this is where the overreaction kicks in. Watching Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen trade haymakers, you can't help but wonder, who in the AFC can realistically slow these guys down when they're rolling? Kansas City looked out of sync in their opener. Teams like the Bengals, Jets, and Jaguars are talented, but none of them looked ready to match that kind of firepower in Week 1. Yes, it's only one game. Yes, plenty will change between now and January. But here's the truth inside the overreaction. When Lamar and Josh Allen are in rhythm like that, there might not be a scarier sight in the league. Both quarterbacks led multiple long touchdown drives. Both proved they could extend plays, beat you deep, and control the tempo. And even though Baltimore blew a 15-point lead, nobody walked away thinking the Ravens weren't contenders. The flip side is simple. In a playoff environment, one bad turnover can change everything. We've seen Allen throw a costly pick or Lamar struggle in clutch moments. That's the NFL. But right now, based on Week 1, the conversation that the AFC runs through Baltimore and Buffalo doesn't feel completely crazy, even if it's technically an overreaction. And that's what makes Week 1 so fun. The narratives are wild, they're bold, and sometimes they're flat out wrong. But every now and then, they're also a sneak preview of what's coming down the road. So, let's talk about the NFC North for a second. The Minnesota Vikings just pulled off one of the wildest Week 1 comebacks you'll ever see. They were down double digits in the fourth quarter, and rookie J.J. McCarthy, the kid making his very first NFL start, led them all the way back for the win. Now, here's where it gets crazy. J.J. just became the second quarterback in NFL history to pull off a comeback win of 10-plus points in his debut. The only other guy to ever do it? Someone you might have heard of, Steve Young. That's right, Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champ, one of the all-time great Steve Young. And if you go back through JJ's history, this isn't new. Winning record at IMG Academy. Winning record at Michigan. National championship ring. Everywhere he goes, the kid just stacks W's. So when I put that all together, his debut comeback, his history of winning, and now being in the same category as Steve Young, it's pretty obvious what's about to happen here. The Minnesota Vikings are winning the Super Bowl this year. That's not an overreaction, it's just the truth. Alright, let's stick with the NFC North here because I don't know if you can even call this an overreaction anymore. The Green Bay Packers are legit Super Bowl contenders. Think about what they just did. They held the Detroit Lions, one of the most complete offenses in the NFL, to 6 points for basically the entire game. And remember, even with all their off-season changes, Ben Johnson now coaching the Bears, Frank Ragnow retiring, Kevin Zeitler gone in free agency, the Lions still have ridiculous talent. Jahmyr Gibbs is a star. Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the best receivers in the league. Jameson Williams just locked in an $83 million extension. And I haven't even mentioned Penei Sewell or Sam Laporta yet. This is an offense that should be putting up 28 a night, and Green Bay made them look pedestrian. And here's the kicker. Micah Parsons wasn't even at full throttle in his Packers debut. You're telling me this defense now has Parsons wrecking games alongside Rashawn Gary? That's a nightmare for any quarterback in this league. Last year, the biggest knock on Green Bay was their lack of a true game wrecker off the edge. Now they have one of the best to ever do it, plus Gary feeding off the attention Parsons commands. Then you look at the second level, Edge Cooper. I'm telling you, this kid is going to be a star. He makes Pro Bowl caliber plays every single week, the kind of sideline-to-sideline linebacker that completely changes your run defense. And in the secondary, Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams flying around making plays. Jeff Hafley has his fingerprints all over this defense, and it's scary. Now let's not forget Jordan Love. People wanted to write him off after last season, but I think that was a mistake. He wasn't 100% for most of 2024, and people acted like that was who he was. Week 1 against Detroit, though, he was sharp. The Packers put up 27 points and, honestly, left plays on the field. That's the part that should terrify everyone else. They didn't even maximize their offense, and still won by 2 touchdowns over a 15-win team. So, when you put it all together, Jordan Love healthy and commanding the offense, Micah Parsons and Rashawn Gary blowing up pockets, Edge Cooper becoming a star, and a secondary that can finish drives, it's not hype, it's reality. The Green Bay Packers aren't just playoff contenders. They're Super Bowl contenders. And if Week 1 is just a glimpse of what this team can be, the rest of the NFL better wake up. Let's go ahead and say it. The Kansas City Chiefs' run at the very top might be over. Now, I want to preface this, because it would be flat-out ridiculous to say the Chiefs have zero chance of getting back to the Super Bowl or that they're done after one game. That's not the case. Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid is still Andy Reid. They'll win plenty of games. But Week 1 in Sao Paulo against the Chargers raised some very real concerns. The defense? It just wasn't good. Justin Herbert threw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns. The Chargers put up 27 points, and here's the stat that stands out. They averaged almost 50 yards per drive. After 1 week, that has the Chiefs' defense ranked 29th in the NFL. And this isn't some random fluke. Part of what made Kansas City so dominant in 2022 and 2023 was their ability to draft at an elite level. That 2022 class was a home run. Trent McDuffie, George Karlaftis, Brian Cook, Leo Chenal, Isaiah Pacheco. They built a championship defense on the fly. But the past 2 drafts? Not so great. Felix Anudike-Uzomah, their 2023 first-round pick, is out for the season and hasn't developed. Wanya Morris was benched, and now they've already replaced him. Sure, Rashee Rice was a hit, but he's suspended. From that whole draft, they really only got 2 real contributors, Rice and Shamari Connor. Fast forward to 2024, and again, it looks like 2 guys, Xavier Worthy and Kingsley Suamataia, are going to matter. That's not enough for a team trying to stay on top. And then there's the run game. This is the part that should scare Chiefs fans. Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt combined for 10 carries, 41 yards. Mahomes, had more rushing yards than his lead back. You're not winning Super Bowls if Mahomes has to also be your leading rusher. That's just not sustainable. The pass rush is another concern. Chris Jones is 31. Karlaftis is solid, but not elite. Now you're asking a rookie, Omar Norman-Lott, to step up and play meaningful snaps in big spots. That's a lot to put on a rookie defensive lineman. Look, Mahomes was good in this game. He looked like the 2019 to 2020 version of himself, extending plays, carrying the offense. But that's the issue, he had to. Because this team doesn't have the margin for error anymore. And against better defenses, like Philly in Week 2 or Baltimore in Week 4, it could get ugly. There is a very real scenario where Kansas City starts 1-3. And if that happens, then yeah, we might just have to admit it. The Chiefs are no longer the unquestioned top dogs in the NFL. The next overreaction from Week 1 is this. The Chicago Bears, whether they're coached by Matt Eberflus, Matt Nagy, Mark Trestman, or now Ben Johnson, are still the same old Bears. Now let me be clear, long-term, I still believe in this team. I still believe in Caleb Williams. I think he's going to be a good quarterback in this league. But man, Week 1 was a tough pill to swallow for Bears fans. Here's why. Caleb Williams is not your average rookie quarterback. He came into the NFL with enormous hype, being compared to Trevor Lawrence as a can't-miss generational prospect. And when you're that hyped, the expectations are sky high. Early in this game, it looked like Caleb was about to live up to it. He started 10 for 10. And as a Vikings fan watching live, I'll be honest, I was worried this guy was about to be a nightmare for the next decade. But after that hot start, Caleb went cold. He finished the game 11 for 25. And if you look at next-gen stats, his expected completion percentage was -3.2. That means he wasn't just missing tough throws, he was missing the easy ones. And when I went back and watched the tape, it was clear. He missed routine throws into the flat, simple checkdowns, throws within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage that quarterbacks at any level should hit. Now, to be fair, there were flashes of the guy everyone hyped. There was one play in the fourth quarter to Rome Odunze where he manipulated coverage with his eyes, came back across the field, and ripped a laser. That was elite. That was the Caleb Williams people were expecting. But it was inconsistent, and in this league, inconsistency kills. Here's the thing. The Bears had every chance to win this game. At one point they had 120 more yards than the Vikings. They had a double-digit lead. And yet, they let Minnesota hang around. And if there's one thing you can't do under Kevin O'Connell, it's let the Vikings hang around. They win those games. They're 35-17 under O'Connell. And sure enough, once the momentum shifted, Chicago had no answers. Some of this falls on Caleb, no doubt. But a lot of it falls on coaching. Ben Johnson, who came in as this offensive mastermind, had some questionable decisions. He passed up a field goal early that would have made it 10-3. Later, he instructed Cairo Santos to kick the ball out of the end zone, except Cairo couldn't do it, and instead Ty Chandler returned it, costing the Bears what was basically a timeout before the 2-minute warning. Those little mistakes matter. So here's the reality. After all the hype, all the off-season upgrades, Joe Thuney, Jonah Jackson, Drew Dalman, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, and a new head coach who was supposed to be a difference maker, the Bears still blew a double-digit lead to a rookie quarterback in his first NFL start. That's the kind of loss that stings. Now, I'm not saying the Bears are doomed. I'm not saying Caleb Williams won't figure it out. But after Week 1, the narrative is out there, and it's a fair one. Maybe, just maybe, these are the same old Bears.